This is episode 4 of my BMW Powered Mk3 Supra. Last episode we got the N54 mounted in the engine bay, and this week we've got to figure out a location for a shiny new turbo and get started on some fabrication. I'm a hardcore Toyota fanboy and BMWs don't really tick the right boxes for me, but the engines definitely do. And that's why we have mounted this N54 into my 1989 Toyota Supra. I love the shape of the Mk3. I've owned this car for a very long time, and the plans as they went along with any project car, we were going to 2JZ top it, then we were going to put a Barra in there, then I was going to do up the 7M, and now we've settled on the N54. This is a 3-litre 6-cylinder twin turbo from factory. They are capable of making some awesome power. We've paired it up with the Getrag 6-speed manual, and this car is going to be a bit of a, I'm going to say drift orientated, but a track car that I can use not in a straight line. I've got plenty of fast cars that are awesome at the drag strip, but when it comes to going around corners fast, I don't really have anything fun anymore. So that's the aim of this car. If you want to see the previous episodes, please check them out in the description or hit the link in the corner right now. We basically got the 7M running and in the first episode, and then now we've mounted the N54. And here is where all the fun starts. We've got a whole heap of fabrication to get done. We left off last episode talking about the Plasma Man inlet manifold and the plan of where to mount the turbo. We've got a turbo on order. That is due to arrive this week. We've got a bunch of fabrication material on order, which is also due to arrive. Before we get stuck into that though, we're going to go up in the air because we have to order a tail shaft, which is something that can take a long time. So we have to, 1, modify the tripod off the back of the 6-speed, and 2, I want to get the shifter done while that tripod is removed because we're putting a N54 into a car that never had this engine, so the shifter is not where it's meant to be. So we'll go up and I can show you what we're talking about.
So, I think that's going to be pretty good, man. Let's cut that out now.
The dilemma we face with the tail shaft is the 6-speed has a tripod which then mounts to a rubber dampener, and the BMW tail shaft then mounts to that. A BMW is also have an independent rear end. I believe they have a 2-piece tail shaft also. I'm not a BMW guy, maybe you can comment below if you know what the answer to that is. This also runs a 2-piece tail shaft, but we have to come up with a way to mount the tail shaft from basically this to something along the lines of this, which is the standard Supra uni. So Westy removed the uni from the Supra tail shaft. The unis didn't really want to play the game, so it was quite tough to get off, but we've separated that, and that's what we're left with. We've then removed the donut off the back of the gearbox, and we've removed the tripod from the back of the box. So we need to now make up an adapter to basically mount these two together. I have seen them online. They're 200-ish bucks, I believe. We're going to try and make one ourselves, so we're going to head up to Westy's shop and use his lathe and his mill and have a bit of fun and kind of, I don't know, I like doing that kind of custom stuff. You learn a lot doing it yourself rather than buying it online. The next thing is the shifter underneath here. This hole we're working with on the Supra is quite small actually. I'm not too sure if autos and manuals are different in the body shape. I believe they are the same. Now, the shifter actually, funnily enough, will fit, I don't know where my alloy block is gone, but pretty well the console in the Supra is a bit further back. So what we're gonna have to do is do a bit of body work here and cut this out. But hopefully, by the time we do a rust repair here, it's gonna work and the shifter will just bolt up on the back. It mounts to the back of the gearbox here, and then we'll have to mount it to the body of the car. And then the shifter mechanism should work as per standard. So that's what we're going to do there, and it's easier to do this now with the tripod removed anyway. You've got a bit more room, so that's that. Once we make up this spacer, we can then measure up for a tail shaft. I spoke to Matt at GJ Drivelines. He's done me a shaft for Kevo. He's done me a shaft for my Crown Wagon. He's always gone above and beyond for me, so I'll continue to support him. I spoke to him on the phone. He basically said, yep, make up your adapter, get me a measurement from face to face. We'll make a single piece tail shaft. So you can go two piece, you can go single piece. Matt is the driveline expert, and he said single piece is fine, so that's what I'm going to roll with. This thing's going to make 600-ish horsepower is the goal through a manual. It's going to cop a lot of abuse, and usually when you do start making some more power, you end up going to a single piece anyway. You can do two piece, but it ends up being crazy expensive, and there's a lot more custom work involved. So we'll stick with Matt's recommendation for a single piece. So right now what we're going to do is start getting cutty, I think, and bust out the hole saw and the hacksaw and clearance this tunnel for the BMW shifter. I have a confession. I'm not the best when it comes to working with sheet metal. The material I'm using, I believe it's 1.6mm zinc sheet, and the factory body on the Toyota, all factory stuff is usually about 0.9. What I'm doing here is just making up a little section to basically close back in what we've cut out, just to make sure no moisture or road grime can get into these holes. So after a session with the hot glue gun, I've basically ground back any of those bird poops and just sealed up the gaps with some body silicone, and then coated any bare metal surfaces with some CRC black zinc. All in all, modifying the tunnel and the shifter wasn't all that bad. Everything is still rubber suspended, so there is a bit of movement there, but that will also help with any vibrations transmitting up through the center of the car. Whilst I was messing around with the shifter, Westy was up in his workshop making a custom adapter to go from the BMW tripod over to the Toyota tail shaft pattern. As I mentioned, you can buy this product online. There also was a few available for different gearbox applications. I actually couldn't find one local in Australia. If you do know of one, feel free to share one. But Westy is a very talented bloke with some awesome skills, and took it upon himself to make up our own custom adapter, which turned out bloody awesome.
We've made some modifications to the tunnel around the shifter area now to accommodate for the BMW selector. We've had to make it a little bit higher, and we've had to cut some material out, just put some black zinc CRC over that to look after it. Now that we've got that in place and we roughly know where that's going to be, we've gone ahead and made ourselves an adapter to go from the tripod off the back of the Getrag BMW gearbox to adapt to the Toyota universal flange. There was a rubber donut there before that took this straight into a isolator and then straight out to the tail shaft in the BMW. Obviously wasn't going to work for us, so I've made this. This part here essentially just goes straight on, the keys in, only one way. These are steel inserts and they recess perfectly into the register on the yoke, and they bolt together, and then our universal flange simply bolts to the front of that. That's going to take BMW to Toyota. We're only about 5mm extra in dimension than we had with the rubber donut anyway. And now that we've got this part made, we can fit it up to the car and we can measure for our tail shaft. This was critical to get this right. It spins very fast. We don't want any out of balance or out of concentricity, so a lot of time and thought went into this part. And if you want to see some details on that, we actually did quite a great deal of coverage on making this part, and that will be up shortly on Skid Factory After Hours, which is Woody's new second channel. Please subscribe to that or you're going to miss out. I promise there's going to be some really good stuff coming up on there very shortly. So let's get it in the car and measure for our tail shaft.
Can you give me the verdunk noise?
The verdunk noise?
Yeah, that.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
This one does it too.
Is it get trib? No, there's no. That's trib. You know, rolling the T's is like French, isn't it?
Schaltgetriebe.
You got to say it with aggression.
Schaltgetriebe.
Yeah. I've got a feeling.
I think that hammer's broken. Gotta get the red one.
Has this got better sweepability?
Yeah, give it a shot.
I'm actually glad I cleaned this out. There's heaps of stuff in there. It's like 36, I'd say. It's pretty big, man.
Like most transmission output flanges, oil can seep through the splines, so sealing the nut and also applying some Loctite is a great idea. With the flange bolted back on and torqued to spec, we can then bolt on our adapter and then measure up for a tail shaft, which I can then share the dimensions with GJ Drivelines for them to make me up a custom one-piece tail shaft. One, two, 1232. Yeah, let's write that down. I'm happy with that. 1232?
Yeah.
Sweet.
1232.
That's going to be an issue there, isn't it? No, maybe not. We've had a special delivery, and that means that it's turbo time. I'm proud to work with Super Cheap Auto, and they've recently added a whole heap of brands with a bunch of awesome performance products to their special order category. We have got our hands on a Zoo Performance Turbo. This is a G30 770 or a 5855 as it were. Here is a banana for size reference. As you can see, it is quite a good looking turbo. We have got ourselves two exhaust housings here. One of them is a 0.83 V-band housing, and I actually went and bought myself a 0.85 T4 twin scroll housing. Now, the idea behind these two housings was because originally I wanted to run twin EX38 Go Fast Bits wastegates. I had this idea that I just kind of wanted to showcase Go Fast Bits front and center in the engine bay. Most of the time, the wastegate's kind of on the manifold down underneath, hidden. You never really get to see it. And I love working with Go Fast Bits, and I really wanted to make a twin gate setup work and have them up on top on display. We don't really need a twin scroll setup on the car, being that the turbo is sized quite well for the N54. It's a 3-litre engine. The G30 is almost on the smaller side, some would say, but this is going to light up as it is. So Westy and I have actually spent quite a long time trying to map out the turbo location and figure out where we can put this turbo. Unfortunately, the idea of twin scroll and twin gates, packaging wise, isn't really going to work. We can potentially mount them underneath, but again, I wanted to showcase Go Fast Bits smack bang up the top there with the shiny turbo. So now we're actually going to cash in. We got a whole bunch of pipe for the twin scroll. We're going to have to save that for another project, as well as the Go Fast Bits gates for another project, and we're going to have to opt for a larger gate, potentially. I don't know, we'll see what we can get in time. I've got an EX50 there, which we might just use from Go Fast Bits. So we're sticking with the 0.83 V-band housing that comes with the turbo from Zoo. I think it's well suited for the N54. With what I want to do, I think it's going to light up quite well. It's going to be super responsive. And for that power goal of 500-600 horsepower, this is definitely going to do it. You can see it's filthy. It's covered in marks and dings because I've been throwing it around the engine bay for the last day, trying to map out this turbo location. We have got a bit of an idea where it's going to sit, and I think it's definitely going to work. So now we're going to have to go back down to the shop and get some more material and then kind of fit the turbo and make it work. There's plenty of support online for the N54 when it comes to aftermarket turbo manifolds. We're going to do it a bit of a budget approach and actually reuse the factory turbo manifolds that feed the turbos. This manifold design is quite common in the OEM. It's a dual skinned manifold to, one, retain heat for the turbine, and two, stop heat from being transmitted into the engine bay. We've modified that by expanding the inner layer out to the outer skin and welded that up, which then gives us a good flange to weld our steam pipe to. I was going to take a gamble and purchase an aftermarket manifold, but everything's designed for a BMW and my strut tower is in a completely different location, and the manifold I was looking to purchase probably would have had to have been highly modified anyway. I've seen other N54 owners make manifolds this same way, and I've personally done this on a 1JZ before. I know it's not perfect, but it's good enough for me.
Yep.
BMW engines have a very severe angle of list on the hot side, which makes putting a turbo remarkably challenging in comparison to other engines, just because of the limited amount of space that they kind of leave. So after considerable amount of placing the turbo here and squeezing the turbo there and turning it upside down and every other which way, we've settled on putting the turbo low. That gives us a really clear run for a 3.5 inch dump to go straight down and out without interfering with our power steering, engine mounts, the actual turbo manifold itself, and it also gives us good options for our charge plumbing coming out of the turbo into the intercooler as well. Essentially, we've got the turbo just sitting there on a jack stand at the moment, mocked up. That position is pretty much final. It may move just a little bit as things present themselves along the way of the build. So the next step is to join our two banks of 3 manifolds that came factory on the engine that we've cut the turbos off, and now we're going to use those 2 manifolds to essentially come out of and bring them together, something like this, where we'll have a larger diameter pipe coming off and then into the turbo. So this is the very basic start of all that. I've just whistled these up real quick. We're going to offer them up now, work out where we need to cut and join, and then Woody's going to go to the shop and get us some even bigger pipe so that we can finish it off.
The factory turbos on these are tiny, really small.
So tiny.
And there is upgrades on the N54 for 17Ts and whatever, this and that. Funnily enough, these factory twins they kind of would have fit in the factory location. They have them facing kind of one, it's kind of like a JZ where they face outwards and the intakes kind of go around the outside, and then the dump pipe comes down through the center. Almost would have worked, but we don't want to have the twins. These are going in the bin. This one actually is pretty cooked at like hardly spins.
Yeah, one's seized.
So we just chopped off the manifolds. Very common in newer vehicles to have the turbo manifold a part of the turbo. Even manifold designs that are a part of cylinder heads is a thing now, with just kind of like one port off the cylinder head. So we have got one EX50 wastegate. This is from a previous project that I just scabbed it again. This is going to be our mock-up, and it's now going to go kind of there-ish, where now it's on display, and we can have our gate pipe kind of running above here, and there's a good little location down next to the boost there for it to go out. This is going to be a mock-up, and I've got another one on order from Go Fast Bits, so it'll be here probably tomorrow because they're super fast postage. And that really sums it up. So I think we're going to cue the genre of, let's go like hard race Esche. What's that called? What's that stuff called again?
I don't know. Oh, jungle techno.
Jungle techno.
Power builder manifold.
Let's make some turbo manifolds. Coming out of those factory turbo manifolds, we're feeding that into some 40 nominal bore steam pipe. I've only got 2.4mm mild steel filler wire in the workshop, so I've rinsed the MIG of some 0.8mm wire, which I've then twisted together and cut into lengths, which I feel is a more suitable sized filler wire to use for this steam pipe. Disregard that big white distraction in the background. How about this new work area? Westy and I have spent a lot of time building this new workspace, which is a dedicated fabrication area. There's been a lot of thought that's gone into this, and I will be releasing a video on Skid Factory after hours if you're keen to see it in some more detail.
We'll be able to tick that up, man. That's fine. It's like already slightly bigger. This side needs to come a bit more.
I'm looking for $35 an hour plus healthcare.
Oh!
What'd you do to that MIG handle there, brother?
Oh, it's a long story, but we made it better, essentially. By Woody, I mean Woody.
Rough on the gear.
The welder still works, that's amazing. So the manifold's pushing the dump down, and that's hitting the power steering. It's causing the turbo to go on a weird angle. Yeah. Actually, the turbo's following the same angle as the engine now, which is nice, but it needs to. This line on the power steering pump is affecting the parallelness.
I'm just gonna put this dump in, and we'll just see.
Yeah, put that on and get the Z-band on there. So
Hi, everybody.
I was like max zoomed.
As per usual, fitting large items in small places doesn't really work out to plan, so we're just going to have to make some modifications, which is clearancing the block just that slight little bit. Originally, the water pump actually sits in this location. It's an electric water pump, and I'm going to have to mount that somewhere else anyway, which doesn't really bother me. These are the complications you face when doing a custom job like this. Another slight complication was the air intake. We could use every millimeter we can get, so we're just taking a smidge off the compressor housing of the turbo. This allows us to get a cast elbow onto the front of the turbo, which we can then aim up towards the headlight so we can get some cool, fresh air.
I've learned from the best, bro.
The advantage of having a spare engine where you can do this on the fly, which is super handy. We've been fluffing around trying to make this work. It fits there, but you move it ever so slightly and then the intake won't work. The inlet to the turbine won't work. So we've finally got a position, which is what that rod's for. We've taken it off the engine in the car and placed it here. So now we can basically finish off the manifold and work on stuff like the dump pipe. In behind here, we've got a water neck, and there's also an oil feed. There's a water feed up here. There's also a water feed, or maybe that's, yeah, that'd be feed, that'd be return. Oil drains, as it was too. Some of this stuff's gonna get blocked off. There's still enough room behind there, and we're now gonna we're gonna go 3-inch from the turbo till about there, and then we'll step it up to 3.5. I don't really think it's gonna affect that much performance. It gives us that little bit of extra room between the manifold and the engine mount. I am worried about potentially, over time, melting the engine mount. It can happen. So I might even replace these just with some alloy solid engine mounts. Leave the inlet side as a polyurethane. It is a circuity car, so I'm not too worried about NVH stuff. So that should work. We're now mocking up the manifold, but we've got to
do it in pieces because you can't weld this side, you can't weld that side. So we'll finish it, weld them in 2 separate pieces. And then we've also got to put a wastegate somewhere off here. As an example, it's kind of like that-ish, and then we'll probably put a wastegate like that. Kind of. I think that pretty well explains it all. We did machine down the compressor for the intake, and that should work. And I think now it's just a whole lot more welding and burning hands and getting sparks in your shoes. And no swearing. I missed it.
From the 2 separate banks, we've merged that into a 50 nominal bore steam pipe that then wraps over the top of the first 3 cylinders and down into the turbo. We're then making sure the manifold still fits into the engine bay with the engine in situ. We did have to pull out the studs from cylinders 1, 2 and 3 just to allow the manifold to slip up into position. We could also jack the engine up, but this is just a test to see if things are going to work.
The engine mount is still out of the car, so that might have made it a little bit easier, but now I'm going to roll with that as a win.
We're going to now mount our wastegate. So we're cutting up yet more pipe, or elbows, and it's just doing the old test and see where we like it and where it fits, and we don't like.
Then we mount the wastegate and the manifold doesn't go back
no,
in.
No, can't get anything back in. No, that's not where it'll be. We'll continue finagling with that until we get it right, but you get the idea. A bit more.
You've got to consider the location of the bolts holding the manifold to the cylinder head. You've got to be able to have access to these bolts so you can remove the manifold. Otherwise, you're gonna have a bad time. With any exhaust manifold, turbo manifold, headers, there's always going to be a certain part that's going to be hard to get with a TIG torch. Example is just here. There's no way we're going to be able to get the TIG torch in the corner here, so we're actually going to weld these 2 parts separately. This one here we'll cut from these welds and weld this out separately. We'll then weld these 2, what are we going to call this here? The Y-pipe gooch.
I guess so.
Separately on these 2 manifolds, and then this is a final weld to do here. The 2 banks, I call it banks, the 3 cylinders are on a separate flange, so it shouldn't be too bad, it shouldn't warp that bad, and we've also got bolts to the head as hard as we can. Also the way the manifold's designed with a bit of pipe recessed into the cylinder head. BMW did that for reasons. I reckon it's a kind of a pretty good idea actually for sealing, and then it's got like a crush gasket in between each port, so if in case there is a bit of warpage, it shouldn't really matter in our instance anyway. So we'll now get the grinder out, cut this off, sit there comfortably with the TIG, and then we're going to work on the intake side of things later on. I've got some weird ideas that I want to compact the intake a little bit more.
Oh, I missed that. Can you do it again?
Yep. You're going a bit of a weldathon and I'll cut it off again for you.
Who's welding? I thought I was welding.
Are you welding?
Well, you've got the TIG and the helmet on,
Well, that means I'm weld.
but I've got the jacket on.
I've got a jacket on.
Don't like the pulse.
No. I can do a pulse, but that one's a bit fast. I like a pulse every second.
Okay.
I know a lot of crew are pro purge welding, and in this instance with a turbo manifold, you probably would want to purge the welds, especially if it were thin wall stainless. In this instance, we're not really set up to purge weld. For one, I don't have 2 regulators, and also all we're doing is welding some steam pipe together to get gas from the exhaust ports to a turbo. It's nothing really special, and with the correct heat control on the TIG, you can get away without purging.
We've got our manifold bolted back to the engine that's in the car. We've put our engine mount back on, and it's now back sitting where it should be. Put the manifold back in. We broke it down to a few sections and welded it all up and welded it together. Nothing moved. Fantastic. We've got the turbo mounted, and we've got our gate sitting where we want it now, which is awesome. Everything clears. It's exactly where we wanted it to be. We've got plenty of room for our dump to just go straight out and down. So the next steps will be weld the seat of the gate to our manifold, and we also need to address filtration on the front of the turbo. Because the turbo is mounted so far down, to get any kind of filter on the front of it and then stay away from other things like fans, belt drives, etc. is proving to be challenging. So we're going to do some clever modifications to the inside of this diameter here, and also onto the front compressor housing of the turbo, where we're going to turn an O-ring land, and we're going to grub screw essentially that to the front of the turbo. It'll be sealed with the O-ring, and then we can do whatever we want after that with some silicone or a filter or an air box, or however it's sort of we to work out how it's going to go. But for the minute, very, very good progress, and we're very happy with how this is all packaged in.
Hot. That's how not to do it. It's hot. You fix my cock up?
Yeah.
Lucky old lathe Jesus was around to save the day. Unfortunately, the cast bend wasn't as symmetrical as I assumed it was, so when I welded the spigot on the end, it was way out of round, so we had to machine the spigot as a true center. We could then flip the cast bend around to machine the inside of the bend.
See that chatter? I'm going to try and avoid that. Old machinist tricks.
I was going to say I'll get a chunk of wood in there, but
Deaden it with something.
rubber bands seemed like a better idea.
All sorts of stuff over the years. Leather belts, wet rags. Still there, but not as bad. Just improved surface finish. Takes vibration out of the machine. Less chance of your job wanting to come out of the chuck, and doesn't hurt your ears. Turn it off. It's about 9mm. So if we turn, say, 9mm off the front of the turbo,
Yep.
then this will go up against the shoulder that we turn, and we can put an O-ring in here for that to slip onto.
Sweet.
So that's what we're going to do.
Like any skill, it all comes down to experience, and Westy's got a lot of seat time when it comes to using a lathe or a mill. This Hafco lathe is a slightly different machine to what Westy's used to using, but it's still a piece of machinery that he's very familiar with.
Oh, it even makes the noise.
Makes the noise.
I love that.
Same.
Compact.
Beautiful.
Looks like factory, bro.
Yep.
Cutting an O-ring groove into the front of the compressor housing will be a little bit difficult, but luckily Lathe Jesus has a few tricks up his sleeve. Westy's profiled his own tool from some high-speed steel. This is then precisely mounted in the tool holder on the lathe, so we can cut a groove into the snout of the compressor housing, which will house an O-ring.
Love that.
I'm pretty bloody happy with that arrangement. It's took a bit of time on the lathe, but the end result of snug fit is going to work perfectly. Everything just kind of lines up well, and you know, this was a 3 AM thought. I messaged Westy in the morning going, dude, I was dreaming about turbos last night. He was like, so was I. He came up with this one. It still needs a bit of revision. We're going to have to put like a locking tab on it somewhere. The idea was actually to grub screw the cast through onto the intake, but because I've taken a bit of meat off there, there's no room for a screw there. So that's all good. I'm very happy with that. It now gets our intake away from the fan. It does still touch, so we're going to just move the radiator forward just that extra 5 mil, which will give us that clearance. I know there's going to be comments suggesting different alternatives. Yes, a silicon bend actually probably would have fit there, to be honest. But I just don't like silicon. I don't not like silicon. If I can avoid using long sections of it, then this is a way better application in my opinion. Also, something like a Plazzy clamp on the front there, because they're quite compact, but still brings that out another 20 mil. It wasn't going to work for us, so this was a great solution. And again, I'm very happy with how that turned out. I'm stoked on the progress on the Supra. There's been so much work going into it, and I'm excited to expand the skills and do something different rather than a JZ or an LS or everything else. Don't get me wrong, I do love those engines and they are fit for purpose. I'm not one of those guys bagging on anything, but in the world of everything's been done, I haven't yet seen an N54 used in a different chassis, so keen for this. Al said maybe we should 7M swap a BMW 135 for something different too, with the old 7M up there. That's not going to happen. Thanks again to Super Cheap Auto for supplying us with the Zoo Performance G30 770. Keen to see how this goes. If you're after a part for your project car, or after parts in general, don't hesitate to check out the special order catalogue on Super Cheap Auto's website. They've got access to so many parts Australia-wide, and even parts for your N54 Powered Supra. Thank you for watching another beefy episode of the Skid Factory. We're now kind of week to week on the Supra. This has been so long in advance. I started this and I lagged on the project for so long, but we're back into the swing of things and we're pretty up to date with how the episodes are coming out. So hit the subscribe button for more content, whether you like BMWs or Supras or maybe HQ Monaros. We'll get to that one in the future. There's no shortage of content. Drive safe and enjoy the moment. We'll see you next week on the Turbo Factory. Cheers.
I spent way too long editing this video, so I hope you appreciate all those squeaky hammers. It takes me a very long time. What's for dinner? We're having line-caught trevally tacos. Throw that coriander in the bin because that's where it belongs.
Oh, left on the bench recording. Mr. Safety, goggles, hearing protection. I'm probably yelling at the camera. I'm seeing double here, bro. 2 legendary Toyota red sports cars.
Oh, yeah. You know how we roll. They go faster when they're red, bro.
How do you spell radii? I'm just taking a piss now because I'm.
R-A-D-A.
Isn't it multiple radius? No.
Well,
I think radio is actually plural for radius, so I probably did f that up.
Is it a double S with one of those?
No,
Up.
that'll be radiuses, which is just radii.
Radii with 2 eyes.
Yeah,
Radii.
radii.
Hey everybody!
Factory number on it.
Yeah.
Go again for me.
So much kadunking. Not enough kadunk.
Oh, it's a little bit deeper, but I like that. Just that precision.
This one does it too. It doesn't.
That one's too precise.
That one's too precise.
I like that, Westy. Well done.
Thanks, bro.
Point to the corner so we can go skid factory after
Oh,
hours.
Skid Factory After Hours is going to be in this corner this week.
Yeah.
Don't bang on it. Could be in a different corner next week, so keep your eye on it.
What about if I want to get a Shockworks shirt? Where do I get that one?
Get a Shockworks shirt from up here, and that's going to be a link to Linkcraft, so you can get yourself a sewing machine, cut sleeves off your Shockworks t-shirt.